Hello YouTube, welcome back. This is your 13th C++ tutorial. In this video I will be finally showing you how to input from the keyboard. From right now, or up until now, we've always done outputting to the screen, and any time that we've entered in any values such as Susie's age when she's 65 years old, we actually write it right inside the code. Susie is 65. Well, what if we want the user to be able to select later on how old she is? Well, for starters, we have cout, and then it outputs something to the screen, as you all already have mastered by now. So we have no errors, and we have hello world. Okay, so now we're gonna change this a little bit. We're gonna say enter in a selection, okay? And we're going to leave it like this, and we're gonna go ahead and compile and run. And this is just going to be like hello world, except it just changed the text. Enter in a selection. And you know what? I want the cursor to be right after instead of on the next line. I don't want to end that line yet. Okay, so let me enter in a couple spaces for readability. And you can't tell now, but the cursor is going to be over here when the program's running, when I have more stuff. So now, as you may have realized, cout, well, it's like kind of like C++ output. Well, cout, the opposite of cout is cin, right? So we're going to have like just cin like that. So C input. But first, in order to input something, you have to input the stuff to a variable. So we're just going to have, let's make a char variable and write selection. Actually, you know what? Let's change that to choice. Okay. Now, you don't have to set it equal to anything because later on it's going to be set equal. So basically, we just have a blank choice character variable, choice variable of data type char, which is a character which contains one character. So now what we want to do is we want to use cin, but you want to use the extraction operators, which it's the opposite way. So basically with cout statements, it's the less than and it points towards the text. Basically, it sends the text to cout, while cin, think of this kind of like an arrow, okay? Well, the cin, it sends this stuff to a variable, like I said earlier, okay? So that's how you can distinguish the two, is you send everything to the right, and you want to send it towards the screen. It's kind of like an arrow. If we just pretend this is an arrow, we're sending it to the screen. Well, if we bring in stuff from the keyboard, we want to bring it into a variable and store it inside that variable. That's why it goes towards choice. Okay, so this is all you have to do. So now let's just have a simple out statement, and let's just say you entered in, and then let's just have choice, and then let's end that line. Oops. Okay. So let's go ahead and compile and run and see what we get. Okay, so it says enter in a selection. As you can see, like I said before, the cursor is right here. The program isn't completely finished yet. It hasn't finished because right now we're on the cout statement right here. We haven't gotten past anything because nobody entered in a choice yet. So let's just say they entered in Y, okay? It says you entered in Y. So that just shows you that I entered in from the keyboard Y. It stores it in the computer, and then it outputs it. It stores it in this variable choice on the computer, and then we spit it back out to the screen. So okay, now what we can do is, if you remember from the last tutorial where we said maybe in a program you want to say enter a selection, maybe we say Y or N, okay? Enter in a selection, or you know what, instead of enter in a selection, let's be more specific. Let's say, do you want to continue? And then they'll enter in yes or no. So let's get rid of this because we don't need to tell them, they'll already know. And let me just grab the switch statement. And really quick, see how all of these lines have these two forward slashes on them? The forward slash is the one closest to the shift key on the right side of the keyboard, and it has the question mark above it. Well, what happens is when you enter in these backslash or forward slashes, C++ ignores everything on the rest of that line. So wherever you start these, so say you start start them right here and say this is a comment, well, it starts at these 2 forward slashes, and then the rest of that line is considered a comment. Comments are ignored when you compile your code, and they aren't stored in the machine code file or anything. They are only stored in the source file. And basically the point of comments is, say you want to give future people that are looking at your code little hints and say, hey, this is what this is supposed to do, and maybe something is kind of abstract or confusing looking, and you can simplify it in a comment and say, hey, this is what it does. Or maybe you want to give yourself a reminder, this is what this does. So let me go through and let me delete all of these. And let me take in the switch statement because that's all I need. Okay, let me cut it. Alright, let me get rid of this rest. Okay, so now let me go into this switch statement and let me paste it in here. So switch, and then we have to change this to choice. Okay, and right here. So do you want to continue, yes or no? So if they enter in yes, we're just going to have it output you said yes, and then if they say N, we're going to have it where you can output no. And remember in the last tutorial I explained that lowercase and capital can be accounted for if you have these multiple case statements without the break in between, because the cases are kind of like the entry points, and it keeps going until you get to the end of the switch statement or you get to a break, which takes you to the end. So let me go ahead and compile and run this. So do you want to continue, Y or N? Okay, well, let's enter in a lowercase y. See, we weren't paying attention if it's uppercase or not. And it says, you said yes. Okay, so basically, this is kind of taking user input, and then it's evaluating that user input. So whereas before we were saying choice was equal to Y, and if we set it that way, and let's go ahead and comment this out, and comments are useful because if you're trying to test something, what it does is it just ignores this. It doesn't look like it does not look at this like it is a statement. It just looks at it like it's just text that you added in for clarification. So let me go ahead and say, do you want to continue, yes or no? You said yes because we had no input, because we already said this is called hard coding when you specifically state, well, your input, that's user dependent. So it depends on what the user says. So as you may have noticed down here, you see how it says return 0, and you know that once it gets to this return 0, it ends your program. Well, check this out. Let's go ahead and take this out. You know what? I'm going to copy it. I'm going to leave it on the bottom just in case something happens. But you know what? Let me go ahead and say, you said no. No, so now I will end the program. Okay. Now, you don't necessarily need this break statement because you end the program and then it doesn't, I mean, it just ends right there. It doesn't do anything else. So this break statement really isn't needed. And yeah, that's fine. Okay. You said yes, so let's keep going. Okay, so let me go ahead and run this. Compile and run it. And once again, we left this return 0 on the bottom just in case the switch statement doesn't get ran. We have kind of like a last resort. It will end, otherwise it'll just keep going and going, and the program will just throw a fit. It won't know where to end it. So let me go ahead and compile and run. Do you want to continue? Let's just say yes for right now. You said yes, so let's keep going. Well, obviously the program ended because it got down to this return. You know what? Let me go ahead and comment this out. And let me just see if I can compile and run. Check this out. Okay, notice that this return 0 is only if a user selects no. So what happens if they select yes? It's going to say you said yes, so let's keep going. It's going to end the statement. Now it's going to keep going to the bottom. Well, it's not going to have an end point. So let's hit yes. Okay, you know what? It ended because code blocks, the IDE, it spoiled us a little bit. It shouldn't do that. That's not a C++ thing. That's part of the IDE code blocks. But basically, if you don't have this return 0 down here, this is kind of like if all else fails, we're going to end the program. Well, we want it down there. So you know what? I think that's it for right now. Oh, you know what? Let me test it with no. That's right. So let me hit, do you want to continue? No. You said no, so now I will end the program. You know what? I want to add a couple lines in here right before it ends just so you can see the difference. So this is the rest of the program. Yay. Okay, let's end L, BOI, and then let's have another cout statement. You are still here. All right. So basically what's going to happen is if we say yes, let's just go ahead and compile and run. And what it's going to do is we're going to say yes. So what it's going to do is, it's going to find our entry point right here. It's going to run through. It's going to end the switch statement, and then it's going to continue for the rest of the program. Okay? So let me hit yes, I want to continue. So you said yes, so let's keep going. This is the rest of the program. Yay, you are still here. All of this rest printed out, and then now the program ended at the very end. Okay, so now let's go ahead and recompile and rerun. And now this time let's enter in no. And you know what, we'll just do a capital no, whatever. So you said no, so now I will end the program. The program is ended. Nothing else is printed out. This stuff is skipped because your program ends here. It doesn't get a chance to complete the switch statement because the program quit. So, you know what? I think this is the end of this tutorial. If you guys have any questions or need more clarification or anything, just go ahead and leave a comment down below. But otherwise, thanks for watching.